Yo, welcome to the Investment Talk, the podcast that dives deep into the world of investment and finance. I'm your host, Brandyn Armstrong, and today we have the privilege of hosting a distinguished guest with an impressive array of roles and accolades. Farouk Khailann is an African entrepreneur with a resolute commitment to driving economic growth in Africa. He serves as the Deputy Executive Director of the Global Chamber of Business Leaders and is a founding director of the Global Wealth Council. Farouk is also the international partner of the World Angel Business Investment Forum and the vice chairman of the African Institute of Small Scale Mining. His role extends further as the managing partner of Akon Lighting with the rapper and entrepreneur Akon, and he's a strategic advisor to the royal family of the United Arab Emirates through the private office of Sheikh Ahmed bin Faisal Al Qasimi for strategic alliances and policies. Today, we are thrilled to have Farouk Khailann with us. Farouk, thank you for joining the Investment Talk.
Thank you very much, Brandon. It's good. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So, let's dive right into your remarkable journey and the impact you're making on both local and global scales right after the intro.
Hey, Jay, what you got going on, man?
Yo, Nick, pass, make it slap.
All right, Farouk, can you tell our listeners about your journey into the world of entrepreneurship and your deep commitment to Africa's economic growth?
Well, it's been a journey spanning over 2 decades. A major part of it was in Ghana, focused in Ghana, building experience with various organizations, and then close to a decade ago, I decided to total as a Pan African, ambition. So I became a cross-border entrepreneur. I started off investing in Liberia, Sierra Leone, alongside some partners of mine. So it also brought a broader perspective. But I also, before that major decision, I had an opportunity to advise a family of an African president. I'd want to put it out Gambia. So it kind of like, opened my eyes to Africa's true potential because of the engagements I was having with, varied individuals and, you know, government stakeholders. So I decided to take the leap. I jump in, decided to, maximize on the opportunities Africa presents, and those continental efforts also gained some global traction, and I begin to have the attention of the international community. A few organizations reach out to me to help them shape the Africa vision and also help them develop a broader framework on how to navigate the African continent. So it's been quite a journey. It's been a great learning experience. I've developed a bigger appetite, so my investment portfolio is consistently growing. I'm one of those people who believe that I rather have a percentage of something bigger than myself than have 100% of something that I'm bigger than. So it helps me. It also you know helps me in my wealth building agenda, and also meet great people, interface with impeccable array of people, and also develop myself. So that has been my journey, and it's been an exciting one, challenging of course, but every challenge strengthens me, and I'm excited about it.
Wow, that's amazing, man. So, how did your background coming up influence you to go in that direction? Like, what gave you that spark?
So I have entrepreneurial parents. My dad is a passionate entrepreneur. My mom is also an entrepreneur, very diverse in what she does. As a child, every child thinks his father is a superman, is the best man ever on the planet. So I kind of like picked a lot of traits from my father. My father is an ardent reader. Every time my father is home, his head is buried in some kind of material, either a newspaper, a book, a business journal. So I kind of like try to emulate him. I would also pick up a newspaper and read. And interestingly for me, the business pages of every magazine or newspaper that I pick excited me because I see people dressed like my dad in a suit. So it intrigued me. I started reading, then I started understanding. In one of Ghana's newspapers, there's a small column that says stock markets. So it also intrigued me. I saw numbers, I see some big figures, so I developed an interest for stock markets, and then my father also helped me in enrolling me at the Ghana Stock Exchange for some programs, and he would personally drop me off, to go and study. Either I'm going to just observe activities on the bus or anything that is, growth related. So my background, my parents played a very major role. They never got in the way. At a point, they questioned some of the moves that I was trying to make because it didn't sit well in terms of where their reputation was. It wasn't anything illegal, but it was actually something. It was in the creative space, the music space. So my father, why are you trying to get into music? I'm like, Daddy, I'm trying to build social capital because when I put out a record and it becomes very huge, a lot of people will know me. I'll build great capital. People will know me. I'll sieve out who is who, and that can translate into business. So eventually they're like, oh, okay, so you have a plan to this. And that was the only time we had some friction, but besides that, they've been very supportive. My father, he's always looked out for me. He's one of my go-to person when I have challenges in business. He routes for me. He would also call me and say, hey, I think if you make this move, it will be good. A few times I've also worked on various deals with him. He's still a businessman. We meet to share ideas. We collaborate on a few things, so my background is 100% the reason who I am today.
Okay. Oh, that's great. So that's the importance of having great parents or someone to lead by example, especially in today's economy where the media is basically raising a lot of the children. So that's great to hear, man. So your professional portfolio is incredibly diverse. From your role as the deputy executive director of the Global Chamber of Business
Yeah,
Leaders to being the founding director of the Global Wealth Council, can you give us an overview of your various roles and
yeah.
how they contribute to your mission of driving global economic transformation?
So somewhere in 2019, in my efforts in the UAE, when I first set up shop in the UAE, through my engagements, I met a gentleman called Nabit. Nabit is a professor in India. He's focused solely on mental health issues, and through that, he introduced me to another gentleman, who we had a conversation. They said, look, we have this collective of business leaders around the world. It's called the Global World Forum. It's been dormant for a while. With the sort of passion and energy that you have and expertise that you have, we think you're somebody who would be able to help us shape the vision of this thing. It's been dormant. We want you to be a founding member of this so we can really, you know, build this organization. I said, sure, why not? So I was actually, appointed to serve as the Secretary General, which was quite disruptive because compared to those who were involved in the organization, I was relatively young, and the fact that I was also coming from a continent which is not well placed in global economic of things. A few people raised eyebrows, but I knew it comes with the territory. So I own up to the challenge, and I said, okay, we can build this. Before I build anything, let's put everything down, the structures down. Let's build from bottom up. I want a new, energy, new commitment. So I started off my journey to build the Global Wealth Forum. I invited Larissa Miller. Larissa Miller is one of the world acclaimed, business strategists. I got her involved. We started enrolling new faces. It took off. It was shaping up well. Then Larissa recommended somebody from Kazakhstan called Dejan Stansa. We appointed him as chairman, and we decided to build from there. So that's how my commitment, my efforts at the Global Chamber of Business Leaders. You can quote me anywhere on this. I'm one of I can single handedly. So I'm very influential in building that enterprise. It's done phenomenally well. It's built a community of wonderful business leaders. Dejan is pushing efforts. I've moved on from the Global Wealth Forum where I joined the Global Chamber of Business Leaders. I transitioned to the Global Wealth Forum, where we also build in some very, you know, powerful organization. Mainly, the whole idea of Global Wealth Forum is to be able to be disruptive. We've realized that most of the international organizations have become elitist. It's become a forte of elitist conversations. It's too much of closed in. A lot of people have been excluded, and Global Wealth Forum is here to address that. We describe ourselves as the nexus of wealth, an epic center for wealth holders, wealth creators, and wealth managers. One of the founding pillars of Global Wealth Forum is to promote financial literacy. Is the bedrock. Is a very important conversation. Once we build a global community that is financial literate, it's going to impact global prosperity. We also want to also bridge the gap between the high net worth individuals in the world and those who are seeking to create wealth in a younger generation. We're going to do this through mentorship, through a very powerful cohort. The recruitment effort is going very well. Amazing collective of individuals who are passionate about wealth creation and financial literacy. So it's exciting. That has been my journey with the Global Chamber of Business Leaders and Global Wealth Council, which has transitioned into the Global Wealth Forum. It's going to be an exciting journey when it comes to Global Wealth Forum. We've had you on one of our podcasts. You made some very brilliant submissions. We took those submissions, we added it into our growth strategy, and it's going so well. Look out for some great initiatives. It's definitely you are going to be involved, and that has been the journey so far.
Oh wow! Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that, and I enjoyed my time on your podcast as well, Farouk. Thank you for having me on there.
Sure. We're looking to have you again, though. We're looking to have you again, though.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it for sure. So,
Sure.
your international partnerships, they're pretty impressive, man. You serve as the international partner of the World Angel Business Investment Forum and also hold the position of vice chairman of the African Institute of Small Scale Mining. How do those roles fit into your broader vision of
Yes,
economic
correct.
growth and innovation?
Well, I'm a bit biased when it comes to Africa because Africa is the last mile. We're offering the biggest return on investment. We we hold the highest amount of critical minerals in the world. We have the biggest youth population. In terms of renewable energy access, 60%. So, in terms of the matrix, that informs global superpower. Africa is ticking all the boxes, but for some reasons, I seem not to understand why we're not, taking our place in the global economy and giving the right perspective of who we are. So like I said, I'm very pan-African in my thinking, and I've always been concerned about Africa's representation in some of these international organizations. A lot of the people that go to represent that for some reason become compromised, are selfish in their interest. They don't look for the collective good of the continent. So I decided to embark. I tell people I'm on a protest mission. I'm a whole protest project to change the way Africa is represented in some of these organizations. Anytime some organizations approach me and I vet their agenda, and if there's any subliminal agenda you know, to incapacitate Africa, I stay away from it. So I'm very particular and strategic with the alliances that I formed in terms of the international community. The World Business Angel Investors Forum is one that really resonated with my cause, and I would like to commend Chairman Bebas for all that he's doing because it's also quite disruptive. It's a collective of angel investors. And the whole idea of angel investing is not something that is heavily structured. It's based on an individual's passion, interest. So he's making that sole decision from a very good place in his heart and his mind. So it's much more quicker in terms of making investment decisions. So this is what is very much needed. And all angel investors are people who make decisions solely. So they are very spot on with their decision. And I thought it was a very good community to be a part of. I've been part of it for the past 4 years and is going well. Um, the most pending agenda is to meet in South Africa next month at the annual Congress to forge more partnerships, to look at shaking hands with more angel investors and also present Africa's case to some of these people. I'm an angel investor myself. I'm seeking to really direct the efforts of this community towards the continent and also point them to some very important individuals and projects and forge partnerships with them, not for myself alone, but in the collective of impeccable Africans that I know, those who have proven themselves to be not selfish, but look for the collective goal of the continent. So this is what happens in that organization. When it comes to Institute of African Institute of Small Scale Mining, it's an institute that I established. I'm the founding director. I've had a stint in mining. I'm still in the mining space. I had quite an experience in Liberia where I set up a small scale mining with a few partners of mine. We were doing well. We were meeting all the expected outcomes until it was compromised from the management standpoint. Somebody got greedy, began to exploit the company, taking company resources and using it for his personal gains and enriching himself. So that enterprise, hit the snag. But what happened was that I didn't consider it as a failure. I considered it as a learning curve and experience building enterprise. I got empowered. So all this experience, I didn't want to let it go. So I decided to formed the Africa Institute of Small Scale Mining to become a think tank, a training institute, an event coordination institute, where we are able to, push forward Africa's, small scale mining sector because there's a lot of interest in the sector. There's a lot of people who want to invest in the mining areas. Some come with heavy investment and get compromised. So what we're trying to do is to also, mentor people, get them to learn the space, understand what goes on in the sector so that we're able to avoid the failure rates. I take myself as an example. So far the institute is going well. We forged some partnerships with the South African government. We've had about 3 events um, with agencies that are focused on youth development in South Africa. We've had a Women in Mining Summit. We've also, started our training programs. We've spread across Africa. We're about to have our AGM and our fourth anniversary activities next month, starting from November 24th. So, in terms of these two organizations, that is what the commentary is about. That's what the narrative, is.
Okay, awesome. Wow. So it sounds like you got a lot going on there, man.
And mind you, I'm not doing it all by myself. I have a very formidable team behind me. I delegate a lot. I'm also building young leaders. So I have quite a lot of these people around me who are also learning through, what they do by me instructing them, giving them assignments. So it also helps me to mentor quite a lot of people, build new leaders, So it looks like I'm doing a lot, but I'm doing it with quite a number of people.
Gotcha. So speaking of having a lot going on, your work involves close collaboration with the offices of 5 African presidents on various economic transformation initiatives. Can you share some of the significant interventions that you've been a part of and their impact on their respective countries?
Well, typical my engagement with African presidents is mainly to be able to forge partnerships that allows them to, deliver on certain important interventions. So what the strategy has always been, we sit with these presidents and say, look, let's have a special purpose vehicle (SPV) to identify critical, you know, areas of the economy so that we move at a very appreciable pace, devoid of legislature taking things to the Senate or Parliament, which potentially could take a year or two, even more. Some legislation debates have gone beyond a decade, which pretty much hampers development. So we look at very specific interventions. What we've been able to even do with Liberia is, when you look at poultry sector, agriculture, as a sector, there's a lot of lapses, a lot of setbacks. We decided to hone in on the poultry sector, which in terms of what is imported into Liberia was very unacceptable. Very unacceptable in terms of import bill. Liberia imports about $60 million worth of poultry products in an economy that needs every foreign currency that it could get. Their export quota is ridiculously low. So for a country to be importing that volume of poultry products is a major concern. It's going to have a negative impact on the continent. So we went in and decided to, address the concerns of the poultry sector. The first thing we did was to set up the Poultry Farmers Association, which was non-existent, to have the farmers to come together to form a very collaborative front, a formidable front to address their needs. Took their issues to the president, sat with the Ministry of Agriculture, formulated new strategies to be able to address these concerns. Today, the farmers have a unified front. They speak in one voice. Some of their major issues have been addressed. They are seeing the growth in the sector. The whole idea is to also convert some of these importers to become poultry farmers themselves, because if indeed you see the impact, the numbers of the poultry sector, and you agree that importation is going to hurt the country, why don't you also, switch carpet, also become a producer locally, so that, one, you create jobs for people, you also, avoid converting local currency into, dollars, to which eventually hurts the economy, like I said earlier. So this is an intervention, a practical intervention we've had in Liberia. We've also sat down with the managers of the Ugandan economy. We had a very intimate meeting with them in terms of renewable energy. We formed Now the government has contracted us to form a standardization policy and framework where every product that is imported into the country in terms of solar is vetted, is certified before it enters market. So these are a few of of the interventions we're working with African president. In terms of working with the Royal Family Office in the UAE, I'm sitting at the table as a strategic advisor, focused on Africa and also African American involvement in the UAE. So the idea is to also be able to speak to a lot of African Americans to see the potential of the Middle East economy, particularly Dubai and Ras Al Khaimah, holds the, because in terms of framework and policy, UAE stands out. What the managers of the UAE economy consistently do is to make sure that they formulate policies for ease of business. And they've done that incredibly well, is doing well. Everybody that comes to the UAE to set up a business will attest to the fact that it's a very enabling environment, allows you, to do business in a peaceful manner. At times, you also get alerts, email alerts on how, you know, economy managers can actually help you to be able to scale up. So there's a lot of incentives when it comes to UAE. I'm also advising in terms of its involvement in Africa, particularly in the private space, what sort of projects to look at, which countries providing the most viable alternative in terms of framework, in terms of private sector growth, in terms of being enabling enough. So this is the work I do with the Royal Family Office. And like earlier on, I expand on my commitment to Africa by working with various presidents on, unique interventions that advance the economy. So when it relative to these two responsibilities, that is what I have to say.
Wow, that's great stuff, man. So you're also a partner of Erez Capital. As a venture partner of the company, you're exposed to exciting investment opportunities. Can you give us some insights into the ventures you're currently engaged with and how they align with your vision for the future?
Yeah, so Erez Capital is a VC that is very AI centric. They fund AI startups across the world. Um, it's when I was approached by Michael, the founder, and I did my DD on them. I realized that they resonate what the new world seeks to, to be. AI and machine learning um, is become a thing. We either embrace it or lose out. And for Africa being, in the current state that it finds itself, what could really speed us and help us to catch up with the rest of the world, the West, I must emphasize, is AI because it's an very impressive tool in terms of people raising the concern that it's going to affect jobs. It's also going to allow people to create more jobs and create more opportunities for themselves. So when it comes to Erez Capital, it resonated with my core goal of ensuring that Africa develops and to be able to make a case for African startups to be able to sit on, like, it allows me to sit on an investment committee to also, one thing that I always like to emphasize is that I have embraced continuous learning. It's been one of my um, powerful tools to help me accelerate my growth because I love to learn. Once I'm working with Erase Capital, I'm beginning to appreciate what AI does, its impact, its positive impact on economies, its negative impact on the global economy, so that I'm able to advise these presidents that I'm working with. So Erez is one of the ventures that I'm excited about. I've sat on one investment committee meeting. I'm on to the next one actually today in the next couple of hours. So it's exciting. I'm also, making a case for Africa, beginning to present some African startups to Erez Capital so that we look into these startups that are AI centric and have developed solutions that are pro Africa. Like I always say, let's develop African solutions for African problems. Some of these solutions that we seek to try to, plug into the continent do not, achieve the expected outcome. So, Erez Capital is a learning curve, is going very well. It's a powerful collective of venture partners. When you look at the collective experience of Erez Capital in terms of the venture partners on board is amazing, and it's one place that I know I'm learning a lot. I'm also expecting to learn so much more to be able to impact my continent.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you when you said that the people can either embrace it or miss out because AI right now is kind of like the computer or internet starting all
Sure.
over again. Back in the mid late '90s,
Mhm.
early 2000s. At first, people weren't used to it. Then a lot of people had so much opportunity back then in the
They
beginning because
embrace.
the possibilities were endless. You could have taken so much advantage because it was so new, and so I definitely agree with that. So with such an impressive and extensive portfolio, what advice do you have for those who aspire to make a meaningful impact in the fields of business, investment, and economic transformation?
Well, like I've made this ritual standpoint that aware of self. Immediately you become aware of yourself and environment, you're able to make decisions and build strategies that will ensure that you grow yourself. Your personal development is highly advanced. Typical when you look in your environment and you take your time to study your environment, you begin to appreciate what's missing. You also begin to appreciate what the stumbling blocks are, and you're able to navigate your way around them. When I was beginning my journey of this Pan-African, route, I became intrigued about Africa. I started studying the people, what has really caused us, to have such a snail pace growth when it comes to economy. Um, why are we where we are today? And it led me to some very interesting, observations. And I begin to build my strategy to ensure that these negative things don't impact me. I go past it. So be mindful of your environment, be mindful of yourself, look at your character traits, where your strengths lies, where your weaknesses lies. Align your strengths to certain areas that would be embraced. And make sure once you are in those areas, you give the best account of yourself because it wipes out your weaknesses. People embrace your possibilities to a point where your weaknesses doesn't matter anymore because everybody wants progress, everybody wants positivity, everybody wants growth. The next thing is to build very, formidable relationships. Your handshake should be firmer. You should give a good account of yourself. Don't make friends to exploit them. Don't make business associations to exploit people. Your word should be your bond. When you meet people, a lot of times when I get confronted by people, I say, I'm not going to promise anything, but I'm going to make sure I do my best. So it's quite a decent pledge, and nobody will hold you accountable if you're not able to to meet certain expectations. So it's very important. Once you have these two traits, the next thing to do is to be pro solution. I mean, anywhere you go, people are talking about problem. Be the one that says, okay, how do we solve this? Be always present solutions. Go back to investigate what can I do to solve this problem from my network, from my personal strength, my connections, my experience. What can I do to solve this problem? Once you are problem, you are pro solution. People embrace you because people don't want people those who will come and trumpet problems and blow problems out of proportion. So once you're there to offer help, people embrace you. Another thing that I also like to significantly articulate to people is that understand that it's a global economy. The world is becoming smaller because of the internet. Um, there are people based on sheer fact that you want to live beyond your challenges. People want to ask the question, if it's not us, why is it him? So a lot of people will try to pull you down to push a negative commentary about you because a lot of people really begin to question and say, why is he making all these progress and we're here being average? Nobody advised you to be average. It's your decision. People have decided to go beyond their current circumstance, push boundaries, you know, and be able to be part of bigger conversations. Choose a conversation that is always bigger than you. That is how the only way you can grow. If you choose conversations that is on your level, I don't see how you grow. When you choose conversations that are bigger than you outgrow your systems, you outgrow your environment, you outgrow your current capacity, and it leapfrogs you into a bigger community. I take myself as an example. I don't like to have small conversation. If it's not a conversation that is going to change my current dispensation, I don't want to hear about it. So these are some of the things I like to share with people in terms of developing themselves. And let nobody kid you. Africa is the most powerful continent in terms of economic matrix. Though there's a lot of people that are not aware of this. Some of us are aware. We continue to be ambassadors. Like I say, I'm a boundary pusher. I'm a catalyst. I'm a pathfinder. I'm one of the people that I said that my CEO is not a chief executive officer. It's a catalyst empowering others. I'm a collective eating organizer, and I make sure that everywhere I go, I'm representing a collective than myself. So I want to call on the world to join us on this African Renaissance from the mining sector, agricultural sector, particularly African Americans. I want you to bring some of that black dollar to the continent. It gives you a wonderful, vast opportunity. My brother Akon has been championing this cause that Africa represents the last mile. It gives the best opportunities, and we're here. We're here to support you. Very soon, we are launching Delu. Delu is a project that seeks to bring 1 million African Americans back home to Africa to either visit for the first time, invest in Africa, to forge partnership, buy properties, to relocate. So Delu is inspired by Akon. Delu means return in Akon's native language. This is my support to Akon on his consistent call of African Americans to come back home. So very soon, Delu will be activated. We'll come to you, Brandon, so you help us push this agenda. So, in a nutshell, this is what I have to say. Part of my passion is always there, and this is what we represent, the new Africa.
Wow, that's definitely amazing advice. And if people would just take a piece of that advice and apply it to their daily lives, it could really accelerate them in life. Like you said, being around bigger conversations versus small talk could elevate a person physically, mentally, and spiritually, because it could raise your vibrations just bringing them around. Because, like they say, you are who you surround yourself with, and you also are what you speak. So that's great advice. And as for Delu, that sounds like it's going to be phenomenal. It's a great venture. I never heard of anything like it.
Yeah, we are yet to launch it. We're making some soft efforts, but by first quarter of next year, it should be fully activated.
Okay, so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. So,
Sure.
lastly, what can we anticipate from your future endeavors and initiatives in the realm of global business and economic development?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I've always been a catalyst. I'm also beginning to appreciate the fact some of our have lapses and limitations as Black people. Um, there are places where I have been racially profiled based on the fact that I'm sitting at big tables. I mean, for some reason, there are some people who would try to play the racial card, but that is not to say that we haven't also identified some allies of ours who are white who are very genuinely passionate about the development of everybody in this world. And we've had those firm handshakes. They are with us to change the global dynamics and be able to ensure that Africa, is well represented in the global scale of things. I'm not saying this based on playing the victim card. We're not victims. We're people who are aware of our threats, and we're gonna stand up strong and face it in a much more civil way, respectful way. And like I said, we have built a very powerful team of allies, white allies who are supporting us in these endeavors. Look out for a few initiatives. I've had very good conversations with the Royal Family Office to be able to avail some opportunities to Black America, so that they can also come into the Middle East and do business and succeed. We also, like I articulated later about Delu, Akon has also reinforced his commitment. Now he's moving to the next phase of Akon Lighting, where it's going to be strongly women empowered. So we're about to announce the Women in Solar initiative, which we're going to be doing in collaboration with various first ladies across the African continent. Who are going to be chairpersons for these solar initiatives, mainly to draw women into the renewable energy efforts, and also for them to become agents of the climate change act conversations that is significantly happening across the world. So there's quite a lot. Global World Forum, like I mentioned earlier, is one of the forums that I strongly believe is going to change the dynamics in the global economy. We want global prosperity to be at the forefront of what we're doing. We want to address the issue of elitism. Our forum is going to be all embracing. It's not based on what's in your bank account. It's not based on whether you're a high net worth individual or not. Yes, we've built a collective of high net worth individuals. We are building the world's biggest database of millionaires and billionaires. Currently, we stand around 30 billionaires and 125 millionaires. These are people carefully selected and said, look, once we build our community, they are ready to help, impact knowledge, share opportunities, and also present some of their hard-earned capital to support people who are also seeking to change their scenarios and also become wealthy. So these are the immediate initiatives I'm embarking upon, obviously with partners and stakeholders. And I'm sure that definitely we're going to be able to present opportunity that will be for global good. Our Pan-African effort doesn't mean we are against any other economies in the world. We are just saying that Africa also presents a good opportunity. You can be Pan African wherever you are. We just say that, yes, indeed, we want to be at the table. We want to be represented well. We want to be fairly treated. We also want people to understand that we don't pose a threat. We just saying that we also have a case. We want to be listened to. We want to be equitably represented. We don't want to be given handouts. We want to sit as partners, as business partners that's contributing our quota and also getting our fair share of the cake. So this is where I would like to end and look out for these opportunities. We are all embracing. We don't want to do this all by ourselves. We want to do this through collaborations. And if anybody finds meaning in what we are doing, in what I'm leading, they shouldn't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Okay, wow. So it definitely sounds like you got a bright future ahead, man. And if they wanted to reach out, where can they find you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn with my team. I'm on Instagram. You could reach out to me. I'm quick with my response because I work with a team. So you can also reach out to Blue World Private Capital, our very own Brandon Armstrong is there. We can have a conversation. Let's have big conversation, disruptive conversation, and one that is going to impact the world. Thank you.
All right, sounds amazing. Well, that's a wrap for this enlightening episode of the Investment Talk. We extend our sincere gratitude for Farouk Khailann for sharing his profound insights in the global business leadership, investment, and economic transformation. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your network and also hit that like button down below. And until next time, let's continue to learn, invest, and drive positive change. And I'll see you on next episode of the Investment Talk.
Thank you.
Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to show support. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Investment Talk.